just got my
sequel.
Hey, I'm getting mine next.
Hey, I doubt it.
So, after the game got leaked a few months ago, it took GameMill until nearly a month before the game launches to acknowledge that it exists and drop a reveal trailer for Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3. If you've been following me on Twitter for the past 2 or 3 months, I have been talking about it for a while and wondering what the f*** is taking so long. Well, it's here now, and I'm going to talk about it. For the past half of a decade, Nickelodeon has slowly but surely been getting back into the groove of making console games, but it wasn't exactly easy sailing from the get-go. From what we can gather from interviews and, random Discord messages from the devs of some of these games, Nickelodeon has been very strict with what's allowed in video games using their licenses. The biggest one is how much Nickelodeon games have lacked voice acting since the start of them getting back into it. Well, okay, to be fair, some they did license early on did have it, but it was all from archives. According to developers of Purple Lamp, the studio behind Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, if you didn't know, Nickelodeon wouldn't let them get Clancy Brown to redo Mr. Krab's lines, since he wasn't available to do them back when the original was being developed and they needed a stand-in, who was kept in the remake to a lot of people's annoyance. My best guess is that Nickelodeon simply didn't want to have to deal with getting so many actors on board for one project, since the budget for these games throughout the first few years was slim to none. Back in the day, this is a bit more plausible, but nowadays getting voice acting can be expensive as hell, and for what Nickelodeon seems to have initially viewed as shovelware junk that didn't need much priority, it just didn't make sense to spend all that extra money. But that's just my guess. We don't have an official answer, and I doubt we'll ever get one. They just thought these games would never get noticed and would just get tossed in bargain bins immediately. That didn't happen. Well, sort of. The first licensed Nick console crossover game in a good decade or so, the first Kart Racers, was crap. Very cheaply made, little to no personality to it, a pathetically small roster, and while I haven't played it myself, according to a bunch of people who have, it doesn't feel right at all. The only thing was, even though it was a hunk of junk, it seems to have done well, and about 2 years later it got a sequel which massively improved things, and 2 years after that, we got another one. I feel like the two games to really show Nick the audience these games were developing were Rehydrated and Nick Brawl. Rehydrated already had a lot of expectations going in because it was a remake of a very beloved game in a much different era for licensed games, and All-Star Brawl had the developers of Slap City behind it, and a few things said by devs early on that jump a pipe. Even though THQ Nordic and GameMill respectively marketed the shit out of these games, I think it's clear that Nick didn't really care. Nick was also rarely limiting with certain creative liberties in the games, at least as far as we know for All-Star Brawl, as the devs have stated numerous times that Nick told them they flat couldn't use non-canon outfits and character dialogue for some reason. On top of, once again, no voice acting at launch. It eventually got it, but about a half year into the game's life. And I think that time period in general sort of shows how Nick has been treating their games. Extreme Tennis has unique customizable outfits, voice acting, and original dialogue, even if said dialogue isn't voiced. So there is showing that there is some kind of improvement going on around here, and Nick's more willing to be more lenient. Basically what I'm saying is that I feel Kart Racers 3 is in a much better position now, since there's much more of a visible demand that Nick can see, thus justifying a higher budget and less restriction on what can be included. I played the second game just to have some footage that isn't the new trailer, and I can already tell that there's a massive improvement with the presentation. One problem I had with the second game as I played it was the severe lack of sound effects. Even outside of the voices, there were just some areas where the game just sounded so empty. It's hard to tell in the trailer, but there is a bit more of the sound effects. I guess we'd have to wait and see, but one thing I can judge from the trailer is the animation quality. It's crazy how much better it is. People want to say that Nick Brawl looks lifeless. You guys probably have never seen what Kart Racers 2 looks like on average. It isn't the absolute worst, but it's certainly rough and actually lifeless at times. No offense to the animators, it just seemed that there wasn't much time put into it, which I can't say for certain whose fault that was. Animation in the third game, just going off of the trailer and what we've seen in images, is much better. In total, the game looks way better in general, primarily because it's been being rebuilt from the ground up in Unreal Engine 4, whereas the first two were made using Vector Unit's proprietary engine. I can't fully judge the engine's quality itself since there is a very small list of games that used it, most of which, if not all of which, I have never even heard of, but I do think the change was for the better. The game looks really good so far. Even though Nick Kart Racers 2 looked pretty good outside of the character animations and some of the models, the backgrounds were very, very nice, and I think the track design in general is absolutely beautiful in that game. They're bringing some of the tracks back into the new game from that one, which I think was a good call. They were definitely really good, and it's much better to see them in a better game. They're also bringing back a lot of the really cool mechanics from Nick Kart Racers 2, such as the slime and the crew. The crew members essentially acted as assists. This not only let them include way more characters and show references, but were also cool in their own right, giving you boosts for bumping or getting hit, giving you extra items, or even just being on-command items. Alright, enough comparing these two games, let's just talk about Kart Racers 3 itself. First off, the roster. To be fair, as of this recording, the entire roster hasn't been officially revealed yet, emphasis on officially. Yeah, shit got leaked early, even before the official reveal in true GameMill Nick licensed game fashion. I'll go over those later, but let's talk about the currently revealed roster. Yeah, I'm not sure how I'm feeling here. I had a feeling there'd be some overlap with the All-Star Brawl roster, but it kind of feels like they just mashed its roster and Kart Racer's 2 rosters here. And there are two elephants in the room that both confuse and bewilder me while they're here. First off, why is Jojo Siwa still here? I heard that supposedly that she and Nick didn't have a great relationship before. I don't know if it's in patch or what. There was some kind of thing with her not being invited to the Kids' Choice Award last year. I don't know. But I still find it strange how she's still in the game and not being advertised. People didn't realize she was in the game until the website went up. She wasn't in the trailer or anything, but in the last game she was plastered all over it. Just weird. Guess they kept her in for the lulz and really or maybe there was some contract shit that said she had to be in the game. I'm not mad, just confused, and it might be a bit gross to still have her depending on what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know. This shit pisses me off though. Why are there two Reptars? Are we really pulling the Mario Kart 8 shit with the clone pics? Some people think it might be an error on the website designer's part, as this isn't the only Nick Brawl alt-turn clone that's being added, but again, more on that later. Aside from those two, it's fine. I was hoping some more representation of shows not in the past few games, and it's nice to see Jimmy Neutron representation that wasn't just done for the memes. So, who got leaked then? Well, Chucky and Mikey, Leo and Odie, and Susie are all in plain sight. There are also very blurry shots that might suggest Skradina and Donnie, but those two are hard to make out. I think the latter is still getting in regardless. So with that in mind, a little better, but I still think it's a bit unsurprising and kind of lame. I was kind of hoping for a bit new, especially if they're choosing to keep a quarter or so of the roster a secret up until launch. Why hide characters that have already been in the games before? Well, I actually have some theories. I may be wrong on this, I probably am, but let's try it anyway. So, like I said, there's a possibility that the purple Reptar render here is a f*** up on the website and he's just an alt. What if that's the case for all 4 turtles, and that's why they haven't been announced proper? Look, I'm just shooting it out here. I think it's weird how they weren't all announced from the get-go, since they've been in the series since the beginning and there's really no reason to cut them. I'm probably wrong, and it's probably just GameMill going, look guys, all the TMNT are here this time. That'd be lame, but that's what I expect. Overall, not really excited, but that's not all. Despite it being not mentioned anywhere but the website, there's a turbo edition of the game and it has 2 extra characters that haven't been revealed. Yeah, supposedly Zuko and the comic girl from Nick Brawl for Raph are here, but in this edition, it's not really clarified what this means. Are they DLC? Are they early unlocks? What's going on here? We don't know, but I can speculate. Despite the roster being decently large as is, 40 is a lot for a game like this. I'm thinking we might get more characters down the line, not as paid DLC though. See, the game has a Twitter account dedicated to the game already. Not just random posts on GameMill's page, no. It's its own page entirely. Right now it's just being used to advertise the game and do reveal giveaways and all that, but I'm thinking it might have some more future use after launch. What if we're getting a Grand Prix system in place like Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled? Now granted, this could be a double-edged sword. More content for the future would be great, especially to keep the game going, but I'm worried if they do this, they might go their microtransaction route. I know this isn't Activision we're talking about here, but that fear is still there whenever anything like this comes up anymore. But I'm thinking that's why Zuko and the Raph Alt are here. Perhaps they're just part of the first event and the Turbo Edition gives you the characters early? Kart Racers 2 already had a shop feature with the slime tokens and stuff, so why not? Just don't pull a CTR all the way, for the love of God. Another thing, how is the online going to work? Crossplay is still not added in Nick Brawl yet, and I assume they'd want to get it working there first, but I'm hoping that when that time comes, they can get it on this game too, just to make it more accessible and help it get more traffic in the future. I don't know how they're going to incorporate it, maybe make a GameMill account or something, I don't know. Not too much has been said on that front, unfortunately, so only time will tell. So yeah, final thoughts, game looks awesome, roster's a bit disappointing, but I have faith in the game and hopefully it gets actively supported afterwards. It looks like such an improvement over the past 2 games that it might actually be somewhat of a genuine competitor to Mario Kart or CTR. Not calling it a Mario Kart killer or some shit, Lord knows we need to hear that shit again, but I'm very excited for it. Now GameMill, I know I've been annoying as fuck on Twitter about this, but I'm gonna be annoying again. Add them, please!